Hi, my name is Jory, and today for my applied food science presentation, I will be making a dish featuring a protein, starch, sauce, and vegetable. Throughout the video, I will be explaining the science behind 4 basic food molecules and how they are incorporated into my meal, as well as the different cooking methods that I'll be using in combination with kitchenware utensils. Then I will further explain the science behind the contents of my meal. Now, for the big reveal, I will be making a chicken farfalle pasta.
Now, before I get down to the nitty-gritty, I want to explain the 4 basic molecules that are commonly seen throughout our everyday foods from Module 2. The big 4 are water, lipids, carbohydrates, and proteins. Lipids is another name for fats and oils. One major lipid is a triglyceride, which is a combo of 3 fatty acid molecules with 1 molecule of glycerol. A commonly known triglyceride is butter. Carbohydrates are molecules that's made from sugars and used for energy storages, more commonly known as starch. Proteins have long, complex chains of amino acids that are folded into 3D shapes and are held together by weak bonds. When heated, these proteins unfold and stretch out. And last but not least, water. Water is a polar molecule with a positive hydrogen end and a negative oxygen end. It has incredible properties, making it extremely versatile throughout cooking. When cooking your food in the kitchen, there are different types of heat transfer and the kind of utensils used to distribute heat differently. When transferring heat, there are 3 different types. The first, radiation, is heat transference that doesn't require direct contact between heat source and object. Second, conduction is the direct touch of heat, and convection is when heat is transferred by the movement of molecules within the food. When I'm boiling my pasta on the stove, I'm using conduction, where the heat is directly emitting from the stove to the pot. When I am pan frying and sauteing my chicken and vegetables, I am also using conduction, in which the heat is in direct touch with the pan. I'm using ceramic cookware because it distributes heat evenly throughout the food, preventing hot spots. The ingredients that I'll be using today are chicken breast for my protein, farfalle pasta for my starch, roasted garlic parmesan as my sauce, and for my vegetables, I have onions and spinach. For my other ingredients, I have light olive oil, seasoning salt, garlic powder, onion powder, black pepper, red pepper, butter, lemon juice, and parsley. First, I'm going to set up the water for my pasta. Now, back to water molecules. Its molecules can form hydrogen bonds, which are an attraction between 2 water molecules that bring them closer to each other and hold them there. Keeps liquid together and constantly breaking and reforming. Another property is solubility, which basically means water can dissolve other substances. For example, when I add salt to my pasta water, the water molecules uses its positive and negative ends to pull the positive sodium and negative chloride ions apart that later dissolves. When the water reaches its boiling point, I'm going to add my pasta. Now, plants produce starch in 2 different configurations. The first is amylose, a long, linear chain, and the second is amylopectin, which takes form of a highly branched tree. Starch molecules are deposited together in layers to form solid microscopic granules. When the pasta starts to cook, the granules absorb water, swell, and release the molecules. When cooled again, the starch molecules rebond to each other and can form a solid gel. This process is known as gelatinization. Now, for my protein, I will be using chicken breast. Before I start cooking my chicken, I'm going to season it because I love my food to have lots of flavor. For my seasoning, I'm using olive oil, seasoning salt, garlic powder, onion powder, black pepper, red crushed pepper for a little kick, and parsley. Meat is made up of 3 basic materials, 75% water, 20% protein, and 3% fat. These materials are woven into 3 kinds of tissue: the muscle fibers, connective tissue, and fat tissues. When you cook meat, their proteins begin to denature as they cook, tightening and becoming tougher, and the connective tissue's collagen dissolves into a sticky gelatin. The color transformation of chicken when cooked is caused by myoglobin, which gives chicken its pink color, and when heated is proteins denature, turning it from pink to brown and tan. Now I'm going to start on my vegetables. For my vegetables, I'm using spinach and onions. I'm using onions for additional flavor, and I like to use spinach just because. Overall, vegetables are nutritious and full of vitamins such as vitamin A, C, K, and folate. First, I'm going to start cooking with my onions. You see, heat softens the plant tissue by releasing the water pressure and dismantling the cell walls. When the tissue reaches 140 Fahrenheit and 60 degrees Celsius, the cell membranes are damaged and the cells lose water and deflate, and the tissue as a whole goes from firm and crisp to limp and flabby. I'm adding butter into the pan so I can cook them evenly and enhance its flavor. As water evaporates onions, its amino acids and carbohydrates are concentrated and bond together, producing a brown coloration. This process is called the Maillard reaction. When cooking spinach, the color dulls due to the added heat. The chlorophyll, which gives spinach its bright green color, is quite sensitive and can break down when hydrogen atoms displace its magnesium, causing it to turn into a grayish green. Now for my sauce, I have pre-made store-bought roasted garlic parmesan. I'm adding the sauce to the pan where I sauteed my vegetables to have a more pronounced flavor. Some of its contents contain starch and egg yolks, which are good emulsifiers. Egg yolks are rich in fats like lecithin, whose structure allows it to bond with oil and water, resulting in an overall smoother consistency. The sauce also contains waxy starches. Waxy starches make sauces and gels that resist separation into a firm, solid phase and watery residue, a problem which high amylose starches are prone. Now, after stirring my pasta and sauce, I'm going to add the chopped chicken breast. As I'm stirring and tasting, I decided to add more red pepper for some spice. And now, to finish it off, I decided to add a little lemon juice for some citrus. And here's the final product. Now, to recap, we are going to take a look back at the elements and methods of my meal. First, the 4 basic food molecules that's present in our everyday food: water, carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids. Now, the heat transfers and utensil material used to cook. Conduction, which is a direct heat when boiling or pan frying or sauteing foods on the stove. The material used for said methods was ceramic because it distributes heat evenly. And finally, the 4 contents of my dish: chicken breast as my protein, pasta as my starch, roasted garlic sauce as my sauce, and onions and spinach as my vegetables. Adding fats and oils help lubricate and prevent sticking while supplying more flavor.